You know, people tell me, you're doing so well. You look like you're also strong, and how did you do it? And my answer is very hard work. It's very hard work, and it's an active process. It's grief work, and grief work is things you do to help you along your grief journey. So I'm a creative person, and my children are also creative. They love creativity and art and expressing themselves. So I needed to harness that for me so that I can facilitate my process of grief for myself. And as I was doing that, I thought, well, why not take them along on the journey? Because if I don't actively involve them now, I'm going to have to do it later anyway. So now the emotions are raw, and their feelings are on the surface, and the trauma is recent, so I don't want to have to deal with it down the line when it has faded and they can't really remember what they felt and really remember what happened. I want them to feel every emotion and the intensity of it, and I wanted to facilitate them to work through it so that we can move past that, and we don't have to revisit years down the line because we didn't talk about anger, or we didn't talk about forgiveness, or we didn't talk about asking God questions, or we didn't talk about, you know, how he felt when they touched his body. I wanted to address those things. So
my mom had a grief coach, and she taught my mom how to make glass beads with a blowtorch, and these beads. Then my mom rolled them in my dad's ash. Then she made beads for all of us to wear. This is my necklace, and then this is my mom's bracelet that she wears. And the other beads, the rest of these beads, we're gonna use to make a pot. We're gonna mosaic the pots with these beads. We're gonna put them on, and then we're gonna also put some of my dad's ash in the soil of the plant. We made cakes when it was my dad's birthday. We made our own cake. We painted on it with food coloring, and I think my background was the skies and the clouds and us looking up at the skies and the clouds.
Well, on Christmas, she gave us the pillows, and she said that it was made out of one of his favorite pillows. And I got a blue pillow, Andy got a red, and Anila got a green one. And it says here, liefste Marisha, hierdie hemp het ek graag gedra, hou dit vas en weet ek is altyd daar, liefste papa. And when I feel sad, I look for my daddy pillow and then I just hug it as tight as I can.
A very important thing that Andries taught us in our household was being honest about your emotions and communicating emotions. He was a wonderful example of that. He was really good at drawing people's emotional responses out. So if something happened, you know, he would ask us, what happened? How do you feel? How does that make you feel? Why does it make you feel that way? Tell me more about that word you used. What other words are similar to that? And he would completely unpack it on an emotional level. So I learned that from him, and the children saw that from him to face emotions and to deal with it and to talk about it. So we decided as a family that's what we're going to continue doing.
So many people, when they start talking about their dads or stuff like that, then some of my friends who know that my dad died, they're like, shh, don't talk about that in front of Vernelia, her dad died. And I'm like, no, I want to talk about him, because if you don't, then you're almost saying, I want to forget. I don't want to remember anymore. you like pretending that they were never there.
I try to listen for every opportunity where they mention something about him, to explore that and to ask them how they feel and to make something of it, and not just to let it pass and hope it goes away or gets better. And I did that a lot in the beginning. And I asked the family members who were supporting us to do that as well. Granny, grandpa, uncles, aunts, I said, when they mention anything, talk to them, draw more out of them, and just take it as far as you can go so they can talk about it as much as they need to.
We made this picture at a place where there's like stamps and colorful papers that you can cut out and make letters with. This one, it was my birthday, and this one, we were just playing outside. Mommy was packing out Daddy's clothes, and I asked, can we dress up in Daddy's clothes? And she said yes, and then I put 2 t-shirts on and a tie. And then Mommy said that we can have one of Daddy's t-shirts. Then I slept with it almost every night that I had it, and it smelled like him, and it just reminded me a lot of him.
I wanted to do something that I could keep, that ties me to Andries, and I decided to make some pots from clay with the values that he lived for, carved out in them. And this took me many weeks. It took me a couple of months. So it was a good process because I went once a week to my grief coach studio. She does pottery as well. So she taught me how to do this. I found it very helpful to sit, and while this week I'm carving out community, and I'm thinking about how did Andries live community? How did he show us community? How did he love community, and how did he teach community? So I focused on each one of these values that I saw in his life. I took some of his ash and I glazed some of the pots with some of the ash. Then when it was fired, the ash didn't burn away, obviously. So some of them have these little specks. That's like a little part of him as well. And I think this is a beautiful thing to give to my children. One day they can choose the one which they want, which means the most to them, the value that they really want to continue, and also have something of him. So it was very valuable.
Then you become like you heal, because you want to still love him and you want to still remember him, and then because you still want to love him and because you still want to remember him, then you heal.
Anelia displays her father's sense of responsibility and emotional maturity, and that makes me very proud. Andy reminds me that life is for living and fun, and I love the way that she tackles life and doesn't take anything too seriously. Marisha is my little unpredictable child, and she can enjoy life to the max, but then she catches you on these surprise moments and asks really deep questions and makes really deep comments that make me think. if you want to work through your grief in a way where you also use creativity, know that you're going to have to face it and be prepared to address it. And if it's difficult for you to do that, doing creative things helps with that, because art and creativity don't need words. You don't need to find the words to explain to someone how you're feeling and why you feel that way. You can just do something and your subconscious and your feelings connect with that activity without needing to explain it in words. So that's why I think it's an easy way to access your emotions, because creativity and art facilitate you not talking but thinking and turning inward and letting you do something with how you feel. So I would say to anyone who wants to explore that, find a grief coach or find an art counselor or find even just an art teacher at the school or someone who gives private art lessons or something like that, if you don't want to explore this alone. And just tell them, I want to make things and I want to do things that help me remember the person I love. I've got photos, I've got some of their ash, I've got some of their precious belongings. What can I make? Maybe you can make a collage, maybe you can make a mosaic with some of their belongings in some on a tray or something. Maybe you can make something with pottery. We baked. You can bake something and decorate a cake in their honor or something like that. And someone who works with art and craft will also be able to give you lots of ideas. And if you wanna do it alone, have a look on the internet, what you can find about art and grief or craft and grief or creative grief. There's lots of ideas.